Okay, well, thank you very much, Troy. What I'd actually like to do is build a little bit upon what Troy talked about and do a deep dive into this most recent trip that he did. I had the opportunity to join this team, so I would like to invite you all to join us on a trip to Ikhalurup Nunanga Territorial Park in Nunavut. All right, I'm pointing it this way. So Ikhalurup Nunanga is at the close to the geographic center of Canada, which is actually centered in and around Baker Lake, Nunavut. As Jeff mentioned earlier, our work takes place in and around Inuit Nunanga, the Inuit homeland in Canada, and we were traveling to the territory of Nunavut for this particular trip. The park itself is located just outside of the community of Rankin Inlet, which is the largest community in the Kivalliq region of southern Nunavut. This particular park was established in the early 2000s and is centered here on this river, Ikagulurup, which stands for the place where the little fish are in Inuktitut. And this refers to Arctic grayling that migrate up and down the river over time. We didn't catch a lot of fish there, but we got a lot of lichens. I'll tell you about that in a second. One of the main features of this particular park, as you can see, it extends kind of north up here, is a long esker. This is an old landform that's left by the river flowing under a glacier. These are really interesting for lichens and plants, so this was a really interesting place for us to work at. This is the river itself. Ikagulurup used to be called the Meliadine River. And you can see it's pretty flat. Don't let that fool you. It takes a long time to get anywhere in this particular park. There's one road in and out. But we ended up actually traversing a lot of tundra and climbing up some of these really interesting cliff faces, all in search of what we were there for, lichens and plants. Within the park, it not only conserves a lot of the environment, but it also conserves historic sites important to Inuit in Rankin Inlet. These are remnants of tent rings that are 800 years old, but Inuit have lived on the land since time immemorial. And so it's been a real privilege, not just for this particular trip, but many other trips, to partner with Nunavut Parks and Inuit partners in communities to really learn about the land with the people who have lived there forever. This is probably my favorite picture from the entire trip because this is the traditional lichenologist yoga pose. Basically we have this amazing, wonderful land. This is from a place called Kamavintilik, which is the place of old sod houses where people lived along the river. And we're in this big, beautiful tundra expanse, and all of the lichenologists, who are all tall, by the way, I mentioned that earlier, are hunched down looking at the ground because that's where the cool lichens are. This is how you discover what's on the land. And Troy, I'm borrowing your line here. You're looking for little things in big places. That's what Troy always says. So that's what our colleagues Jesse, Alan, and Troy are doing here. Off of the camera I'm taking this picture, and we were also accompanied by Thomas Angoshluk, who was our local guide while we were in the community. So over the course of 2.5 weeks, we were based out of the community, but we drove out basically onto the tundra every day, and we collected at 16 different sites. And our goal at each of these locations was to get a good inventory of the lichen and plant biodiversity at all of these sites. So we picked them basically by looking at Google Earth and saying, well, what looks a little different? Or while we were on the land, what looks a little different? Or as you're hiking on a very slow hike with botanists and lichenologists, well, this looks different. We should probably collect this as well. And in the end, we had come up with over 800 lichen collections, which will be added not only to the National Herbarium of Canada here at our National Heritage Campus, but also with specimens that are being examined by experts, both Alan and Jesse, who joined us, but around the world, who can really tell us what those species are. These are some of my favorites. If anybody tells you they don't have a favorite plant or lichen, they're lying. These are some of the ones I really enjoyed finding while we were there. I think I had an obsession with this mushroom one here. This is called Lichenomphalia alpina. There's a very small group of lichens that actually form mushrooms, and I am obsessed with them. This is how I know I'm in the right job. But it was a lot of fun to be able to learn a lot of these lichens with so many amazing lichen experts while we were there. One thing you might not know is that my first love and what I do my master's on was vascular plants, and I work well with the vascular plant Arctic botany team here at the museum. And so my side hustle while we were doing all of this lichen stuff was I also collected 128 specimens of vascular plants throughout the territorial park. Research associate here, Dan Brenton, he actually had done a survey of this park in the 90s. So we were building off that. I collected about 100 different species of vascular plant here, and this just shows you kind of the color of the tundra. It's an absolutely spectacular place. A few interesting things that vascular plants that I found that I enjoyed were this hybrid of a Tophilia. So on either side here, you've got a red and a white Tophilia. These are small members. They used to be in the lily family. Now they're in their own family. And I think it's really clear in the middle. You can see it's actually a hybrid between the two species. And that's not always common. We found this hybrid at a few places across Nunavut, and we're hoping to find it in more places wherever the two parent taxa are growing together. This one, these are carnivorous plants. These are two species of Pinguicula, which are called butterworts. We found them both in the park. This is like the most popular plant whenever I'm chatting with people about it because of the mosquito situation in Nunavut. Everyone's like, can we get more of this? I would like more butterwort, and I wholeheartedly endorse that. Exciting for me, we found Arctic milfoil. We think about milfoil in the south as something we do not want. These are native milfoils that grow in ponds in the low Arctic. This was thought to be in the park, but wasn't confirmed by a collection until we collected it this past year. And this one is exciting for me because I really love sedges, and everyone's like, what's a sedge? Sedge is like a grass, but it has edges, and if you want to know more about that, ask me questions later. This sedge here, Carex holostoma, was not known yet for the park, but we found it in several places throughout the park, and so, this is kind of a personal highlight for me, which again, tells me I'm in the right job. So with that, that's a really brief dive into the trip that Troy and I did with friends. It's part of the thing that I love about my job. Thank you very much to everyone who made this possible, in particular Harry and Neil for Nunavut Parks, and thank you all for your attention.